Welcome back to the God Concept. Today, we're asking a question that might make some people uncomfortable. Who told you God exists? I don't mean how you feel about it. I mean, who was the first person to actually put the idea of God in your mind? For most of us, it was someone we trusted, like a parent or a pastor. And here's the follow-up question. Who told them? If you trace that line of information back far enough, you eventually arrive at a human. A person who stood up and said, "This is what God is." And we believed him. Not God, but him. So, the argument isn't that humanity discovered God, but that humanity declared God. Think about it. Men had experiences they couldn't explain, and they interpreted those experiences. They gave them names. They built stories and rules around them. But what about divine inspiration? Many would say these weren't just ordinary men, that they were moved by something greater than themselves. Okay, let's follow that thought. Who told you the scriptures were inspired? Well, the scriptures themselves. And who told you those men were speaking for God? Those men. Do you see the problem? The witness and the evidence are the same person. It's classic circular reasoning. If I came to you and said, "I'm a prophet because God told me, and I know God told me because I'm a prophet," you'd probably look at me like I'd lost my mind. But when you wrap that same logic in ancient language, put it in a sacred book, and pass it down for a few thousand years, suddenly it becomes untouchable. Now, questioning it makes you the problem. I'm not saying these men were liars. I'm saying we have no way to verify the source of their claims. Let's go even deeper. Let's say something does exist, some infinite source behind all of reality. Can that source ever truly be what we say it is? That's the real question. The very moment we say, God is love, we've defined it. God is just, we've put a frame around it. God wants this. God forbids that. We've made the infinite finite. We've essentially reduced the unlimited to what can fit inside the tiny box of human language. And here's the uncomfortable part. When you say, God can do this, or God would never do that, you aren't describing the divine. You're prescribing it. You're drawing a circle around the unlimited and calling that circle sacred. But the circle isn't God. The circle is yours. This means that every religion claiming to have the absolute truth is claiming to own something that, if it's truly infinite, simply cannot be owned. Infinity doesn't fit in a box, no matter how beautifully you decorate it. This leads to another thought. If we create our image of God based on our own understanding, then every image of God is actually a self-portrait. When the ancient Hebrews described a God who chose them above all other people, that tells us something about them. When medieval Europeans painted a God who looked European, that tells us something about them. When modern prosperity preachers describe a God who wants you to be rich, that tells us something about them. We don't describe God. We describe ourselves and call it God. We project our fears, our hopes, our deep-seated need to be right. God becomes a mirror, and we end up worshiping our own reflection without even realizing it. Some might call that blasphemy. I call it honesty. And if there is something real behind all of this, I don't think it's offended by honesty. What's truly offensive is the arrogance of certainty. The idea that you, a temporary being on a small planet, have somehow figured out the nature of the infinite. That's not faith. That's just ego dressed up in religious clothing. So, where does this leave us? Am I saying God doesn't exist? No, I'm saying it's time to separate the source from the story. The source, if it exists, is beyond our descriptions, beyond our books, and certainly beyond our control. The story, on the other hand, is ours. The names are ours. The limitations are ours. And maybe that's okay. Maybe the whole point isn't to know God. Maybe the point is to stop pretending we do. To hold our beliefs with open hands instead of clenched fists. This isn't about giving answers. It's about asking questions, not conclusions, but conversations. What do you think about all this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We genuinely want to hear from you. Subscribe for our next conversation, and as always, stay curious. Peace.